Hey guys, how are you doing? And today we're gonna have a little bit of a chat about the current state of TFT and what is coming next. I figured I should do a video maybe about what I think about TFT currently and what's also coming up and what I think about the upcoming changes, the set rotations. We got quite a lot of stuff to talk about, honestly. So with the League 10 announcement, they gave us quite some new information. First of all, we're gonna get a new set rotation, which is super awesome. I'll watch the video and I think it's pretty cool. I'm pretty excited for them to, let's say, have a new chance to set up the game since, well, it brings fresh air into the game itself and also maybe more players to try it out again, since how it is at the moment it can get a little bit stale. I for myself think it's still quite fun, but there are some worrisome things as well. Let's talk today a bit about the PBE changes currently and maybe the more problematic things and the upcoming patch, which is I think next Wednesday. So how it will be, we get on the PBE server next week, we get the new set rotation to we get to test it out, and on Wednesday we get just a new patch. So I think we get in 2 to 3 weeks we get the new set. I'm pretty hyped for that. So what I'm gonna address here is just the PBE changes for next week and some problematic things about the current meta and what could be done with the game and why I think they are problematic. So what I have here is first the changes, or what we want to buff and what we want to nerf. So this is pretty casual, don't mind me. So what we want to do is buff the crossbow because the worst item in the game. That's totally fine from my perspective. And buff redemption, which I don't think needs a buff. And I think Shojin is a bad item, so I'm pretty happy they're kind of addressing that one. And then we get a Ranger, a Sorcerer, a Brand, and a Varus buff, which is pretty wild in my opinion, since first of all, I think Rangers are not weak or something. I think it's more like Knights are being too strong. So that might be overdoing it, especially with Kaiser being a Ranger and Varus also getting a buff. And I, for myself, think Varus is quite strong if you play him the right way in the current mid game. I don't think Sorcerers need a buff. They are currently one of the strongest comps in the meta. Well, especially with Dragons being a thing, since Ace is a Sorcerer and also Pantheon fitting into that theme quite well. So maybe no Sorcerer buff. I don't like that a lot. The Brand buff, well, again here, I think it's the wrong approach because we have Dragons being too strong and not Brand being too weak. Like, Brand kind of synergizes Sorcerers. And why is he too weak, or let's say weaker in the end game? Well, that's mostly because of Pantheon being a thing and Ace with Dragons being a thing, since, yeah, he does not kill dragons. So what I would do for myself, or what I would suggest, is maybe tune down Dragons a little bit, or maybe change the synergy overall, and not start buffing the champs, which basically don't need a buff, right? So I think Brand can be quite awesome if you have played him in mid game and upgraded him and gave him some items. Yeah, he can deliver quite hard. So that's what I think about the buffs for the most part. We get some nerfs. We get a Dragon Trap Claw nerf. I don't think that item needs a nerf. I actually think it's a pretty neat item. One of the best items we got included. You can do pretty sweet counter positioning to enemy carries. I think that's super nice. And that item being nerfed is maybe a bit, let's say, from my perspective, sad. And we get a Guardian nerf. I think Guardians are actually fine. I think the way they do the balancing is mostly looking at statistics. And obviously, if you currently look at Guardians and win rates of Guardians, they are going to be pretty high. But the reason for that is basically Pantheon and then increasing the drop rate of Pantheon so much together with the Sorcerers and the Dragons in combination with the Guardians being that strong. Because if you have a Pantheon, give him triple Guardian buff and Dragon buff, he's basically unkillable. He will just solo the enemy team. It's actually crazy. You might have made that experience yourself. We also get a Hextech nerf. I don't mind that a lot. I would have rather seen a Phantom nerf. I think Hextech is a better mechanic than Phantom. So a lot of fights at the moment are getting decided by Phantom. You might just randomly lose 20 life because your carry gets Phantomed. I don't like that. I would have rather seen Phantom nerf here, but Hextech nerf is fine with me. We're also getting a Draven nerf. Don't think we needed that. I think Draven is fine. If you tune down Draven and maybe buff another 4-cost carry Blade Master, therefore, if you would have one, maybe, but I think Draven is fine how he is. It's sweet. Maybe you see a lot of high win rate with him because the Imperials are easier to grab and so on. I think Draven is actually totally fine. I would have rather seen some other nerfs, maybe Dragon Synergy nerf, something into that direction. We have Lissandra being nerfed in the mid game, and that's what I think is kind of weird. You get a Varus buff and a Lissandra nerf. They are pretty close in power level to each other. Lissandra is maybe getting played a bit more often, and she's pretty strong. But let's say if you nerf Lissandra and you buff Varus, what is nice, you're shifting the meta game in the mid game especially a lot, which is kind of cool, but I think you should also buff the, let's say, units which need it, like maybe a Camille or another weak 2-cost unit we have currently. I mean, Varus is certainly not that 2-cost unit. Maybe you could buff a Shen, but Shen is also being great, so Lissandra nerf is okay. We're also getting a Pantheon nerf, which is okay. I would have actually liked to see another direction here. So maybe just nerf dragons, or what I would have suggested, nerf the legendary drop rate. Because at the moment how it is, especially in challenger lobbies, people rush to 8, roll for legendaries, and Pantheon especially because he's too strong. And well, if they hit it, they hit it. It's a little bit like a level 8 lottery, so I don't like that at the moment. And what makes this especially problematic, and I would have really liked to see that changed, is the Nikos. If people get double Nikos, and Nikos especially being problematic because it can drop from common, uncommon, and rare boxes. Sometimes people have double Nico. They roll 1 Pantheon and 2-star him, and they win the lobby because of that. And I don't think that should be a thing. Nico should be unique per hero, I think. So don't get me wrong. I don't think this patch is awful, and I don't think the changes are bad. It looks a bit for me, though, there might be some important things overlooked. Legendary drop rate, Nico. These are for me the most important things, and maybe Dragon Synergy or Knights also being too strong. So that's my opinion about that. And I also have another thing which I spotted on the PBE. I think it's here. So what you see there in the left corner is they want to increase the base damage of players quite a lot. So what they want to do here, and what changes about the game, is they want to make it faster by increasing the base player damage in the beginning because they think loose streaking is too strong because people rush to 8 and such. But honestly, I think that takes a lot of the tactics part out of teamfight tactics, because let's say at the moment you see some people loose streaking, which should be a viable thing in the game. Let's say you have 70 life at Crux. Can math it up. You have 5 rounds, you take every 5 rounds plus 2 damage, you have an average 10 less life, which is huge. They say they reduce the damage from the units, from 1-star, 2-star units. That does not change a lot though. So let's say at the moment you're at 70 life at Crux, you end up at 60 life, 55 life. And we had those metas. I don't think anyone enjoyed that. So I hope this doesn't make it into the live patch. So overall, as a conclusion, I really still like the game. I still think some things are not cool at the moment with the overtime bug and some other bugs which might happen. Let's say there's a Lissandra ulting Elise spiders not doing damage. There are a little bit too many bugs for me, in my opinion. I hope it changes with the new patch and the new set. They said they are approaching towards that, so I have high hopes. TFT is one of my favorite games since a long time, but at the, let's say, recent state and the recent changes, I'm getting a bit worried. So I hope it changes. I will keep you guys updated. I hope you liked me sharing some thoughts, and hope you liked the video, and I'm gonna see you guys next time. Have a nice day.